three students presenting their capstone papers tonight. The first will be Seminarist Huy Nguyen, then Sister Big Hong, and thirdly, Seminarist Mark Declamo.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Now let us pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Father of all, may we embody your spirit of love, which draws people together. May we give witness to the force of love that keeps us together in one community, where each one of us is the best for others. May we see in one another the missing part that we should have. And may that spirit of unity and love begins here. Amen.
Amen.
Jesus.
So, welcome to my presentation and thank you for coming.
Sure.
Some people have asked me why my topic doesn't sound like philosophy. It is understandable to me because many students still think that philosophy is something abstract. In fact, it is. But it is also very practical. That's why I chose to work on this topic, because I think that this topic is very applicable and relevant to the Bible college community as well as SPD charism. Let's walk with me through this presentation to see what we can apply. My presentation very simple, include 3 parts: introduction, welcoming the other in Levinas, and welcoming the other in intercultural living. Emmanuel Levinas was a French philosopher. He was born in 1906 and he died in 1995. He was influenced mostly by Herschel and Heidegger. So why the idea of welcoming the other is so important for him? Because, as we can see, we are unique. We are very different from one another. Even within your family, you are not exactly the same as your parents or your siblings. But we are called to live and work together. So how to harmonize all the differences among us? And the idea of Levinas, welcoming the other, can be of help for us. Let's see what he's going to do and what he's going to tell us. Unlike other philosophers who think that the source of ethics is from reason, like Immanuel Kant, or from the principle of utility, is like utilitarianism, or from the will of God, like Thomas Aquinas. For Levinas, he believed that the source of ethics is the interpersonal relation between people. Let me give you an example. Suppose that I am the only person living in this house. When I want to eat all the apples in the refrigerator, I don't have to worry about anything or consider about anyone. I just go ahead and do it. But if there are some people living with me, when I want to do that, I have to consider if I eat all the apples, the other person, the other people won't have a chance to eat it. By doing that, considering about them, I already apply ethics. Therefore, he said that ethics is used to govern the way in which we relate to each other. So, who is the other? Very simple. The other is other person rather than oneself. Whoever we directly encounter in our daily lives. And you notice that it is a singular form. Why is that? Because he wants to focus on the one-time encounter, a direct contact with the other. What is the face of the other? The face of the other is the living presence, the whole being of the other. And he this face of the other expresses itself and speaks directly to us. In his book, he said that the face of the other at each moment destroys and overflows the plastic image it pleased me and the idea sitting in my own measure. It means that whenever we look at another person, we somehow have an interpretation or a stereotype over that person, and we cannot see them clearly. Therefore, we relate to the other not through what our mind interprets about the other, but through who the other truly is, and what the face of the other speaks to us and invite us into a relation. What is the subject of the welcome? The subject of the welcome is me, but for him, it includes both host and guest. What does it mean? For example, I invite Father Boucher to my house. The act of inviting him to my house already implies that I am the host of the house. And if I still remain as a host, I am not truly welcoming him. Now, in order to understand him, to welcome him, I have to become a guest. And here, the other has all the privilege and the space to reveal himself to me. And the other now even becomes dominant over me. Nothing can block between me and the other, so that he can freely reveal himself to me. In that sense, we have to accept the otherness of the other, because when we come into contact like that, we find some differences, and we come to accept it. And to continue explain his idea, he come up with 2 steps in order to welcome the other. The first one is proximity. It means nearness, closeness. We have to believe that the other is not far from us. They are very close. And we do not label or put a mask on the face of the other according to what we think. We cannot come close or enter the house of the other if we do not believe that he or she is close to us, and just as we are standing in his or her shoes. And this idea leads to the second step, is substitution. This is what it means by substitution. And when we see this, we may have an idea of, oh, it seems like we are denying ourselves. But in fact, it's not. Because this is not the alienation of self, but a recurrence to oneself. Because the self is to conceive outside. It never ends at oneself, but goes to the ether side of oneself, which is the other. Just like the image of an iceberg, we know very little about ourselves, very little. That's why we exist through the other and for the other, without being alienated from myself. And for him, the term I in his philosophy means here I am, answering for everything and for everyone. An emptying of oneself for the other. So seeing the others already motivates me and urges me to respond to the other. And the responsibility becomes the link between me and the other person. To clarify this point, I want to give you an example. For example, you are walking on the street, and then you see a person pushing a garbage can. And then you see another person pushing an old man, like Father Boucher, to the traffic. How are you going to respond to these 2 situations? The first, you might have no response. Nothing is urging in you. But the second one, when you see a person pushing another person through the traffic, something inside us like urging us, motivating us, and asking us to respond, to do something to save the life of the person. So that's what he means by we having the responsibility towards the other. So how we can apply all those ideas of Levinas to intercultural living? Let's move to the third part of my presentation. I want to distinguish between two terms, multicultural and intercultural. Multicultural is a sociological and anthropological term. It relates to a social reality, whereas intercultural is a theological word, and it is a faith-based undertaking. Why is that? 3 reasons. The first reason, because faith is lived culturally. We live our faith, we practice our faith mostly according to our cultures. And in that sense, when we have an intercultural community with different people from different cultures, we may see a lot of differences. In order to integrate all that, we need a conversion. And what is a conversion? A conversion is not simply an individual process happening at once, but a process of continuous personal change and growth with and for the members of the community. It means that every one of us need to do something, need to change, and need to adapt to the cultures. And the third reason that we have to have faith in the necessity of the conversion. We have to see that, oh, it is necessary that I have to change, because faith leads to action. There are some stumbling blocks in intercultural communication. I want to present 3 of them. The first one is the assumption of similarities. We often think that when we have human common needs, common interests, we are similar, we are the same. But in fact, it's not. And people want to think that we are the same because they are afraid of differences. The second problem is that the pre-perception and stereotypes. Why do people want to have some kind of stereotypes on other people? Because they want to reduce the threat of the unknown. If I see that someone is different from me, I don't feel very comfortable. So I want to put some label on them so that I can make them predictable. And the third is the tendency to evaluate. We usually favor our own culture. When we look at the other culture, people doing something and we say, oh, that's bad. My culture is better. This is how I do it in my culture and it's much better than yours. And when we do that, we see only the negative things. Next, I want to present to you the meaning of community. Community is derived from the word communitas, Latin. It means the same. And this word is derived from the word communis. That means together. And this is my invention. When I look at the word community, I see the word unity is a part of the word community. And I come up with the conclusion that to be in community is to be one. So, in an intercultural community, we have people from different cultures. That's the reality. Now, we have to do something to make these differences become one. And how to do that? First, we have to accept the other. For Levinas, culture can be called love. Why? Because culture signifies the otherness of the other, from which we come into contact with the other. And we cannot ignore the otherness of the other because this is a reality. So we should not reduce to the same. If we consider culture as not as an obstacle, but a bridge in which we can come into contact with the others, culture can become love because it can bind all of us together. We have to respect and accept all the cultures, and this is a way of showing love to the other culture. Second, we have to remove all biases and prejudices. We try not to put a thick mask on the face of the other according to how we want to see them. For Buddha, he said, wisdom is seeing a thing in its true nature without name and label. We can use the two steps of Levinas' idea. We have to believe that the other is very close to us, very near to us, so we are open to listen to them. And also, we believe that we have the responsibility towards the other, so that we can do something and we pay attention. We go in responsible and be in contact with them. My conclusion. This is what I hope that you can remember with the long information that I just given you. Acknowledge the otherness of the other, because if there were no difference, there would be no need for reconciliation. Being open to accept and learn about the other. Get rid of our biases and stereotypes. Allow the other to reveal itself to us as how it truly is. We change our thinking so that we can change how we see the others and how we relate to them. And this is my thesis. Thank you for your listening.
Huy is now ready to answer your questions.
Thank you very much.
Adam,
Father.
I appreciate the insight about the need to overcome our biases and prejudices and seeing the other as they truly are. What would Levinas say about the unconscious biases that we have? Because it seems that oftentimes I'm not even aware of a bias or prejudice I may have, and my relation to the other is in as much as I have that person revealing themselves to me. And so sometimes that can seem very limited, especially in the beginning of a relationship. If I perceive a person as not open to share, or if they don't feel trusting of me to share who they truly are, would he have something to suggest how we can get in touch with our unconscious biases and prejudices?
Thank you for your question, Father. It's a little bit challenging because he did not explicitly say that. But according to what I did in my paper, I can give you hopefully an answer. The first question is that our unconscious biases, yeah, we may not really be aware of that, because somehow it's like inside of us, But like, that's why he has the idea of being aware. We have to, if you know this, and you be aware of how you relate to the other. And for example, if the other say to me something, and I immediately have an interpretation in my mind, and I have kind of a judgment. So in that sense, it kind of reveals to me that, oh, I have some kind of unconscious bias over that person or over that culture that I may not be even aware of before. That's why the contact, the relation is very important. And especially when we believe that they are close and we are open enough to them. But on the other side, they are not open to share with us. that we already try our best, you know.